All right, I am very excited to introduce our next speaker, Jonathan Gardner. Jonathan is a 21-year-old self-advocate who advocates for all types of disabilities. He is a decision maker, a homeschool graduate, and a cancer survivor who happens to have autism. Jonathan is an official ambassador for Operation House Call through the ARC of Massachusetts. He's a Flutie Fellow for the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation for Autism, the co-chair for Massachusetts Supported Decision Making Coalition, and a board member of Massachusetts Advocates for Children. Since the age of 13, Jonathan's vision has always been to help others in any way he can. Jonathan has many different types of support and supporters that help him to live his best life. Jonathan, the stage is yours.
Go for it, you got this.
All right, can you hear me? Yep, okay. I'm just gonna redo what you just did, if you don't mind. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan Gardner, and I'm honored to stand here today to share my journey with you. I'm a 22-year-old homeschool graduate, an official ambassador for Operation House Call through the ARC of Massachusetts, a Flutie Fellow for the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation for Autism, a co-chair of the Massachusetts Supported Decision Making Coalition, a board member of Massachusetts Advocates for Children, and an advocate for disability rights at the state and national levels. I'm also a cancer survivor who happens to have autism. A few fun facts about me are, I love video games, pro wrestling, and anime. Since the age of 13, my vision has always been to help others any way I can. Today, I want to take to talk about resilience in the face of challenges and how important it is to recognize that everyone's voice matters, no matter how someone may communicate. I like to say I happen to have autism because autism does not define me. I believe we are all human beings with different experiences and perspectives that make the world better. Everyone has worth and value to our world. Autism may influence the way I think, the way I advocate, and the way I connect with others, but it's just a piece of who I am, and I have many pieces to me. For instance, it's like my arm and my leg. It's just a piece of me. Every human being has strengths and challenges. Some people may be great at verbal communication, but struggle with sensory overload. Others may not use spoken words, but are incredibly insightful when given the right tools to express themselves. Instead of focusing on labels, we should focus on listening to each other, individuals, and respect their needs. My story started even before I was born. When my mom was pregnant, doctors told her there was no heartbeat. They recommended a procedure that would have ended the pregnancy and ended me. But my mom trusted her instincts and sought a second opinion. A midwife found a faint heartbeat and put her on bed rest. That's how I came into this world, a child whose life started because someone refused to give up hope. That experience left my family and me with an important lesson. Trust your inner voice, even when the world around you is saying something different. Resilience starts with knowing yourself and standing firm. One second, I have my pages messed up. Growing up, my parents noticed I was developing differently from my brother. I had severe colicky, food allergies, and sensory sensitivities, loud noises, certain fabrics, and even separation from my parents, especially my mother, felt overwhelming. I was nonverbal until the age of 5, but my family worked hard to create an environment where I felt safe. My mom's heartbeat, the very first sound I ever heard, became my comfort. She carried me in a baby carrier all day and all night so I could feel safe. That connection became my foundation of my sense of security. By age 2, I was diagnosed with autism. and received early intervention services. These services gave me a head start on communication and life skills. I started school at age 3, and in preschool, in first grade, I had a great team who worked with my mom and supported me. But then, second grade, everything changed. My accommodations were ignored, and I struggled verbally to communicate my needs. I was bullied for wearing Sesame Street shirts, something that made me happy and comfortable. My teachers dismissed my struggles, even flicked a hat off my head, something I needed for sensory support and was an accommodation in my IEP. One of many that were not followed. The pressure to learn in a way that didn't work for me was overwhelming, and I had no way to communicate my distress. I began hurting myself because I was trying to communicate to others that I needed support. I felt that I did not belong. Long story short, things got so bad that one day I tried to jump out of a classroom window. No child should ever feel this way. This is why I serve on the board of Massachusetts Advocates for Children. The organization fights to make sure all kids, especially those facing barriers, have a fair chance to learn, grow, and thrive. After the first traumatic event, I was placed in an out-of-school district where I was promised safety, but what I got was more trauma. When I became overwhelmed and cried, my teacher took me into a timeout room and restrained me. She sat on me, pressing my body to the ground, making me feel like hot lava was burning throughout my body. This happened over and over. I was terrified. I needed my mother, but she was not allowed to come in. I needed someone to listen, but no one did. My trust in teachers, in schools, in adults, it became shattered. When my mom found out what was happening to me by walking in on it, she pulled me out of school, and I was homeschooled from that point on. It was only then that I finally felt safe. That was years ago, but I'm still living with the consequences of those actions today. I have been diagnosed by my neurologist with PTSD from my school-based trauma. I have severe trust issues because of what happened to me. Imagine being a child and realizing that the very people who are supposed to help you are the ones hurting you. Now imagine growing up and trying to navigate the world with that fear still inside of you. This is why I fight for change. No child should ever feel unsafe in a place meant for learning. No child should be restrained because they are overwhelmed. No child should be ignored when they say they are in distress. And no child should carry this trauma into adulthood. Because I had experienced the trauma of restraints and seclusion, I didn't want any other children to go through that. So with the Disability Law Center in Massachusetts, other advocates, and my family, I shared my story to help pass the Massachusetts Restraint and Seclusion Law. This law regulates how schools can use physical restraints and seclusion, making sure there is accountability and protections for students. That was my first taste of advocacy, and it gave my mom and me purpose. I realized that my story could make a difference, not just for me, but for others as well. Advocacy became not just a way to fight for my rights, but for the rights of all people. I knew from a young age that I wanted to help others, and that's what I set out to do. Homeschooling became my safe place to learn. My mom took on the role of my teacher, my advocate, and my rock. We created a learning environment where I could thrive instead of following a strict curriculum that was not tailored to my learning style. I was the guide of my own education, learning in ways that made sense to me. Now let's skip ahead a little bit. In 2021, at 18, my life took another turn. I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a rare cancer, but the journey to that diagnosis was long. For 5 months, doctors ignored my pain. They assumed my symptoms were because I have autism, not because something was seriously wrong with me. This is called diagnostic overshadowing. Diagnostic overshadowing happens when doctors see a disability first and dismiss real medical concerns. Many doctors told my mom, not me, the patient, that I should see a psychiatrist instead of looking deeper into my pain. They didn't take me seriously. Finally, one doctor listened. She said, I do not know what's wrong, but I'm going to find out. And that's when we discovered my tumor. When I was 16, I began using support decision-making, which is an alternative to guardianship with a person. Me picks a group of people they trust to help them make decisions. I'm the decision-maker in my life. As you can imagine, starting chemotherapy was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I lost my hair, my energy, and at times, my hope. Halfway through chemotherapy and radiation, I hit my breaking point. This is how support decision-making saved my life. When I was at my breaking point, I ended up in my room crying and just really wanted to give up. I told my mom, I don't care what happens to me. I just want to stop, even if the tumor kills me. My mom had to take time to process all this herself, but when she came back to my room, she came back not as my mom, but as my support person. She said to me, Jonathan, I do not know what the answer to this all is, but if you can put your faith in me as your support person, I'm going to try my hardest to help you figure this out. From there, I gave my mom the okay to contact my medical team, and together they all came up with a different plan for me to think about. After the meeting, I was able to talk to my supporters about the plan, get my questions answered, and then I agreed to move forward with it. The plan ultimately saved my life while also taking care of my mental health at the same time, thanks to support decision-making. Support decision-making truly makes me feel involved with my life. It provided me with choices about when and how I was going to receive my cancer treatments. Because of support decision-making, I was able to let my body and voice guide me with the help of my supporters. If I was not able to pick my support people during my cancer treatments, I would be a shell of myself now if I survived. This experience showed me the power of self-advocacy in healthcare. People with disabilities deserve to be heard and respected in medical settings. That's why I continue to advocate for support decision-making to become law in Massachusetts. That leads me to the work I do with Operation House Call through the ICan, Massachusetts. As the official ambassador of Operation House Call, I educate medical students about how to care for patients with IDD and/or autism. This training results in better quality care and more accessible healthcare for everyone. I feel so strongly that when a person that may happen to have a disability comes into the hospital and may present with a so-called behavior, that everyone needs to understand that people have behaviors because they're trying to communicate something. Everyone, regardless of disabilities or behaviors, deserve respectful and appropriate medical care. I believe that the future of healthcare will be shaped by programs like Operation House Call, where healthcare providers are educated about disabilities. They are better equipped to provide the care that people with IDD and/or autism need. They learn to see us as people first, not just as diagnoses, and that changes everything and can save lives. And I don't just share my story, I mentor other self-advocates to become co-teachers. I believe the best way for doctors to learn is through us sharing our real lived experiences. My advocacy doesn't stop in Massachusetts. I recently spoke on Capitol Hill about the Autism Care Act and educational policies. Standing before lawmakers, sharing my story, and advocating for change on a national level was one of the most empowering experiences of my life. I also advocated for police training for individuals with autism and/or IDD. If police better understood autism, they could respond more effectively in emergencies, potentially saving lives. Just last week, a boy named Victor, who was 17 and happened to have autism and cerebral palsy, was shot and killed. He didn't speak and he walked differently. Police shot him because they didn't understand his disability. With the right training, they could have slowed down, stayed calm, and saved his life. This is not okay. As I'm wrapping up today, I want to leave you with this. Life's challenges will test us, whether it's autism, bullying, cancer, or different types of barriers. We all face obstacles that can feel overwhelming, but we don't have to face them alone. Sharing our lived experiences in any way is powerful. Together, by sharing our experiences and personal perspectives, we can advocate for ourselves and others to live our best lives. I want to end you with this quote from a lawyer who means a lot to me. My friend, mentor, and the lawyer who first helped me get involved with passing the Restraints and Seclusion Law. He once told me, when we all work together, our voices can be powerful and significant. That message has stayed with me, and it's something I believe that with all my heart. When we come together, when we lift each other up, we don't just make noise, we create real, lasting change. Thank you.
Oh, this worked perfect. Hi. Okay, I was excited to introduce you. After your talk, I am now a super fan of everything that you're doing. I'm an occupational therapist. Your story about diagnostic overshadowing and any neurodivergent person talking about pain in the healthcare system is a huge issue. So thank you for bringing that up. That it is often pushed off, and it is a very real thing and a very real problem. So thank you.
A voice for the voiceless. And as a parent of 3 sons with autism, 2 nonverbal, there's something you have talked about that as parents of children who don't speak take for granted. You just say that behavior is not just behavior, it's actually communication. And you do need to find out what this behavior is trying to communicate. So thank you so much for bringing that. I also like the idea of supported decision making. It's really powerful, and I really never thought about it. And it stimulated my thinking about how to deal with my sons. Like now they are teenagers now, and of course I do see now they need to be helped to make decisions. And also the issue of medical, what was the name? Medical suppression, something like that, where the doctors just ignore you because of your disability. I think that's also very powerful. Thank you very much. Continue speaking for those who are voiceless. Keep it up, and we are very proud of you as a mom.
Thank you for all those kind words.
As a mom, I'm going to say you're a true inspiration. My child is 15 and he is struggling right now. Teenage years, other factors with his health, and you've given hope, you know. Mothers get tired. I don't think we talk enough about mothers getting tired. Mothers get tired and often they lose hope, or there's days where they just don't want to carry on. Your story is an inspiration to many other mothers, and I do work with many parents. We have an online parental support group, and this story will be something I will be sharing because it's given so much hope to me and to many other parents in the world. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you all again for having me. And I guess I'll leave you with this little bit. Since we were talking about mothers and all that stuff, I'd like to actually say something that I just remembered that I was thinking about and was talking about a little bit with my mom when I had cancers and all that stuff about my father, if you don't mind. Mothers do most of the caregiving, but there's a lot of stuff that also fathers do sacrifice as well. Both sides of the parents spectrum do a lot to give us kids, whether we have disabilities or not, a lot of opportunities. And I can never be more grateful to not only my mother, but my father for all the stuff they've done for me. Thank you.